In our headlines on this Thursday afternoon, September 26th. Israel is reportedly planning a ground offensive into Lebanon, targeting the militant group Hezbollah once its extensive air raids clear the path. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister Cho Tae-il points to arms transactions between North Korea and Russia as indication of the UN Security Council's limitations. And Russia's Vladimir Putin announces a revision to the Kremlin's nuclear weapons policy to allow for broader nuclear retaliation. We have details coming up next. We start in the Middle East yet again amid news of a potential ground offensive into Lebanon by Israel targeting Hezbollah. U.S. defense authorities, for their part, however, are downplaying such prospects. Our Kim Jong-sil has the latest.
Israel's top general said on Wednesday that the military is preparing for a potential ground incursion into Lebanon. According to a military press release, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi told troops on the northern border that Israel's ongoing airstrikes are intended to prepare the ground for a possible entry and to continue degrading Hezbollah. However, the U.S. Pentagon said on Wednesday that any potential ground invasion did not appear imminent. Israeli airstrikes have already led to over 600 deaths in Lebanon this week, with Lebanese health officials reporting that casualties include women and children. Hezbollah, meanwhile, has intensified its attacks, including firing a ballistic missile at Tel Aviv on Wednesday. The militant group said it was targeting the headquarters of Israel's intelligence service, Mossad.
This is the first time in history that Hezbollah terrorists have fired at the city of Tel Aviv. Thank God the missile was successfully intercepted. Immediately following the missile attack, the launcher in southern Lebanon was struck and destroyed.
The Israeli military's extensive air raids on Wednesday targeted more than 280 Hezbollah targets across Lebanon. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel will not rest until residents return home, referring to people who fled from northern Israel due to Hezbollah attacks. According to the Lebanese Health Ministry, Wednesday's Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 81 people and injured over 400 others. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged for the fighting to stop.
Hell is breaking loose in Lebanon. As I told the General Assembly yesterday, we should all be alarmed by the escalation. Lebanon is at the brink.
The UN chief added that the world cannot afford Lebanon to become another Gaza and that an all-out war must be avoided at all costs. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Also, at the UN in New York, Foreign Minister Cho Tae-il has pointed to the presence of active weapons cooperation between North Korea and Russia as tangible indication of the UN Security Council's shortcomings. Our Yoon-jin reports.
A high-level open debate on leadership for peace is a signature UN Security Council event during the annual gathering of world leaders at the UN General Assembly. And this year, 15 Council nations attended under the Maintenance of International Peace and Security agenda. During his address on Wednesday, South Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Tae-il highlighted that the many humanitarian challenges the world faces today are interlinked to security and development, and that tackling root causes requires an integrated and coherent approach that links humanitarian assistance and development to peace and security. But he also raised the issue of the Security Council's limitations in failing to effectively pass any resolutions to address the current pressing security issues. Cho said that Russia, a permanent member of the Security Council, had blatantly breached core principles of the UN Charter and international humanitarian law, adding that Russia uses its veto power to undermine the international non-proliferation regime. He called on Pyongyang and Moscow to comply with the relevant UNSC resolutions, which he stressed were unanimously adopted by the chamber.
Adding to the frustration is the fact that the Russian Federation obtains arms and munitions from North Korea in flagrant violation of multiple Council resolutions while using its veto power to undermine the international non-proliferation regime.
After outlining that strengthening cooperation between the UN and regional and sub-regional organizations would play a crucial role in contributing to the Council's efforts to prevent conflicts, Cho also reaffirmed Seoul's commitment to contributing more to promoting and strengthening political and peace-building projects. Main issues discussed during the open debate session were Russia's war in Ukraine, the situation in the Middle East, and the civil war in Sudan. Ian-jin, Arirang News.
And with regard to Russia, the Kremlin is revising its nuclear weapons policy to allow for broader retaliation. Our Lee Seung-jae explains.
In what is being considered a strong warning against the West, Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced that he will be making revisions to Moscow's nuclear doctrine. Speaking during Russia's Security Council meeting, the Russian leader announced a set of revisions which include a stipulation that an attack against Russia by a non-nuclear power with the support of a nuclear power will be seen as a joint attack on Russia. While Putin did not specify if such action would be met with a nuclear response, he stressed that Moscow could use nuclear weapons in response to conventional attacks that pose a critical threat to the country. Russia has previously mentioned lowering its threshold on nuclear weapons use as a warning to Western countries, including the U.S., which could approve Ukraine's use of long-range weapons against Russia. Putin made specific references to long-range weapons that could potentially be used by Ukraine if Western countries give Kyiv the green light. According to the Russian president, such weapons include strategic and tactical aircraft, cruise missiles, drones, hypersonic and other flying vehicles, adding that the use of these weapons could be met with a nuclear response. The revision not only applies to threats against Russia, but any attack on its ally Belarus. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Well, despite the world's shaky security footing, its economy seemed to be standing on steady ground amid expectations for a 3.2% expansion this year. This is according to the OECD, and our Kim Bo-kyung covers this latest outlook.
The OECD forecasts that the global economy will remain resilient, with inflation continuing to moderate. According to its latest interim economic outlook, Turning the Corner, released on Wednesday, the global economy is expected to grow by 3.2% both in 2024 and 2025. This year's projection is up by 0.1 percentage point from the previous forecast made this May. Inflation is projected to further ease, with consumer prices expected to rise 5.4% this year and 3.3% in 2025, which will contribute to real wage growth and an expansion in private consumption. As for a specific country and region, the U.S. is expected to grow by 2.6% this year and 1.6% in 2025, as the Fed recalibrates monetary policy to avoid a recession. In terms of the Eurozone, real wage growth and loosened monetary policy are projected to support growth of 0.7% this year and 1.3% in 2025. Meanwhile, in China, government stimulus measures are expected to offset weakened demand and a slowdown in the real estate sector, with growth of 4.9% in 2024 and 4.5% in 2025. As for the South Korean economy, it is projected to grow steadily by 2.5% in 2024 and 2.2% next year, with exports aided by the ongoing strength in global semiconductor demand. Inflation is expected to be 2.4% in 2024 and 2% in 2025, aligning with forecasts from major domestic and international institutions. The OECD cited trade tensions due to geopolitical risks, growth deceleration from a cooling labor market, and excessive volatility in financial markets if inflation easing falls short of expectations, as several downside risks to global economic growth. It advised central banks to keep lowering policy rates if inflation eases and labor market pressure is low. On the fiscal policy side, it stressed the need for decisive efforts to ensure debt sustainability in the medium term in preparation for future fiscal needs. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
At the National Assembly this afternoon, lawmakers are addressing some 70 bills related to livelihoods, including those on equality in the workplace and that for childcare, which seeks to extend the period of parental leave. Also receiving quite a bit of attention is a bill that outlines the penalty for possessing and watching contents of deepfake sex crimes. The so-called livelihood bills are expected to be passed without any hassle, but tensions remain in place as opposition lawmakers look to reintroduce bills that have been earlier vetoed by the president. The government and ruling People Power Party are looking to improve research conditions for STEM students as part of efforts to foster a larger talent pool in science and technology. Now, earlier on this Thursday, they agreed to an annual scholarship of 5 million Korean won each, or some $3,750 for 1,000 students pursuing their master's degree starting next year. Also, legislation to streamline administrative procedures for researchers and to prevent career disruptions for female researchers were discussed. These latest efforts follow President Yoon Suk-yeol's introduction of a stipend program earlier this year to support young scientists and researchers. And speaking of the president, he has ushered in a national committee for artificial intelligence to facilitate Korea's transition into one of the world's top 3 in AI technology. According to the top office earlier on this Thursday, President Yoon Suk-yeol welcomed the inauguration of the Presidential Committee on AI, including government officials and industry experts, to frame out the nation's AI policies and vision. Do take a listen.
국가인공지능위원회는 범국가적 혁신 역량을 하나로 모으는 민관 협력의 구심점입니다. 나라의 미래 명운이 걸린 AI 전환을 선두에서 이끌며 우리나라를 AI 3대 강국으로 도약시키는 견인차가 될 것입니다.
President also spoke of plans to set up a national AI computing center with the backing of public and private investment. Now, these initiatives follow his earlier pledge this year to invest some $7 billion into developing AI and AI chips as a future export engine. In other news, Korea is hosting its annual hydrogen exposition to share the latest hydrogen solutions to tackle climate change. Our correspondent Lee Soo-jin files this report.
In the global quest to create a low-carbon future, hydrogen energy is a crucial renewable resource for reducing emissions. And the latest hydrogen technologies are on display at the 5th H2 Mobility Energy Environment Technology Expo. This year's H2 Meet is the largest yet, featuring 317 companies and institutions from 24 different countries in attendance, and takes place in the city of Goyang, Gyeonggi-do Province from Wednesday to Friday.
Our country, along with the private sector, is working to lead the global hydrogen economy. We aim to expand hydrogen-powered buses and trucks to meet larger-scale demand and steadily build infrastructure, such as liquefied hydrogen refueling stations.
To back these initiatives, the government plans to have 660 hydrogen refueling stations by 2030, nearly doubling the current 332 nationwide. Expanding the availability of these stations is essential for commercializing hydrogen energy, which offers several advantages over electric vehicles.
Hydrogen vehicles can charge within 5 minutes, unlike electric cars, and can travel longer distances.
The event showcased gas tube trailers and liquid hydrogen tank trailers, which transport hydrogen to refueling stations. Gaseous hydrogen is designed for vehicles requiring rapid refueling, while liquid hydrogen is suited for heavy-duty applications such as long-distance trucks and buses. With the hydrogen market being projected to grow significantly as adoption of renewables becomes more widespread, local companies such as Hyundai Motor have already begun developing their own hydrogen value chain.
Hydrogen value chain business brand that spans from hydrogen production, storage, transportation, and application. And we are leveraging our group's affiliates, technologies, and business cases.
And on the local government level, provinces like Gyeonggi-do showcase their achievements, which include establishing hydrogen production facilities. With hydrogen a big part of the country's drive to go carbon neutral by 2050, these technologies will help push the hydrogen sector forward. 이수진, Arirang News.
Also on the local front, soaring cabbage prices are boosting demand for packaged kimchi. Packaged kimchi sales of Taesang and CJ Cheiljedang, the two companies that account for a combined share of over 50% of the domestic market, surged over 10% on year last month as consumers chose to buy packaged kimchi instead of making it at home owing to high ingredient costs. According to the Korea Agro-Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation, the average retail price of one head of Napa cabbage stood at 9,383 won, or some $7 as of this past Wednesday, up 52% on year, given the prolonged heat wave this year. U.S. tech giant Meta has shared what it says is the most advanced pair of AR glasses that place people at the center of physical and virtual spaces, allowing them a more powerful, immersive experience. Our Choi Soo-young has more.
This is Orion, the most advanced glasses the world has ever seen.
Meta Platform, the owner of Facebook, has unveiled Orion, its first working prototype of augmented reality glasses. On Wednesday, at the annual Connect conference in California, the company's chief executive, Mark Zuckerberg, went on stage himself, showed a demonstration and explained the new tech.
They need to be glasses. They're not a headset, no wires, less than 100 grams. It is a completely new kind of display architecture with these tiny projectors in the arms of the glasses that shoot light into waveguides that have nanoscale 3D structures etched into the lenses.
He added that the Orion glasses show the physical world with holograms overlaid. The black-rimmed and rather chunky-looking glasses are made from a magnesium alloy and powered by custom silicon designed by the company. Zuckerberg says the glasses allow users to send text messages, make video calls and watch YouTube by interacting through hand tracking, voice commands and wrist-based neural interface. He told the audience that Orion has a size and weight suitable for daily use and offers the widest field of view among smart glasses so far, with a 70-degree field of vision. Since the 2010s, AR glasses have been recognized as the next generation of smart devices. However, due to physical and technical limitations, their progress has been slow, though Google and Apple have recently resumed development. Meta has been developing Orion for about 10 years. In the announcement, no specific details regarding its weight, release date or price were mentioned. Zuckerberg called the prototype a dev kit and added that Meta plans to make a cheaper, smaller, sleeker version for consumers in the future. Choi Soo-young, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, on the health front, the COVID-19 pandemic may be over, but research here in Korea to better respond to its endemic presence continues, especially in light of its prevalence this past summer. Our Cha Yoon-kyung has details.
COVID-19 infections have been increasing worldwide with the appearance of the KP3 variant. Variant mutations of COVID-19 have various names, such as KP3 and KP2, among many others. When the COVID-19 virus breaks into human cells, it uses a spike glycoprotein on projections of a cell as a key to breaking into it. However, the KP3 variant does not use the original shape of the spike glycoprotein, but modifies the cellular spike's shape by using one of the human body's own enzymes, because it does not have its own enzyme for mutation. The national research team has newly determined that KLK5, an enzyme in the body, plays a main role in modifying the cellular spike.
When the COVID-19 virus breaks into human bodies, two parts of a virus cell have to be cut to inoculate with cell membranes in human bodies. Through the research of our team, we were able to find out that KLK5 plays an important role for the virus to inoculate with human bodies.
If a new substance that can control KLK5 is created, a new type of COVID-19 vaccine can be developed. Paxlovid, the representative COVID-19 vaccine, suppresses the propagation of the virus after it breaks into the cell. But the findings from this research are different from the principle of Paxlovid, as a new substance could stop COVID-19 viruses from entering cells. The research team is working on developing a COVID-19 vaccine based on a therapeutic agent that can suppress the production of KLK5 enzymes. This process might be time-consuming, but the team is looking at whether it could lead to the commercialization of a new vaccine, as the country is currently fully reliant on treatments from overseas. 차윤경, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. We begin today in France, where the murder of a 19-year-old female student last weekend in an exclusive Paris neighborhood by an immigrant has fueled new calls from the French right to toughen immigration laws. The body of the woman named Philippine was found in a West Paris park on Saturday. Her suspected killer, a 22-year-old Moroccan man identified by the French media as Taha O, was arrested in Geneva on Tuesday, where he currently awaits deportation to France. According to Le Monde newspaper, Taha O was due to be expelled from France after serving 5 years in prison for raping a student in 2019. He was set free on September 3rd, but administrative issues and delays meant he was able to disappear before deportation paperwork was finalized. France's far-right RN party's president, Jordan Bardella, said that a migrant who had no right to remain in the country was able to offend again with total impunity. He called the justice system too lenient and called on the government to act. France's new Interior Minister, Bruno Etalieu, said on X social media that it is up to the public officials to change France's legal arsenal in order to protect its people. Next to Mexico, where protesters threw firecrackers at the Mexican Senate building on Tuesday in a demonstration to seek justice for students who were abducted from a teachers' college in Mexico's Guerrero state 10 years before. The remains of only 3 students were subsequently returned to families following the tragic events of September 26, 2014, when 43 students from the Ayotzinapa Rural Teachers College disappeared, reportedly kidnapped by corrupt police officers working with a local drug cartel, with later evidence pointing to involvement by the Mexican army as well. In 2022, the Mexican government said there was no evidence of survivors and declared the case a state crime. However, the families continued to hold on to hope for the victims' return or for the truth to be uncovered and justice to be served. Supporters of the LGBTQ+ community gathered in central Bangkok on Wednesday to celebrate the Thai king's royal endorsement of a same-sex marriage law. The event included a variety of rainbow-colored performances, with attendees lying down to write their wishes on a white canvas. Earlier this year, the Thai parliament passed the Marriage Equality Bill, making the country the first in Southeast Asia and the third in Asia to recognize homosexual marriage. Royal endorsement was finally published in the official Royal Gazette late on Tuesday, allowing the bill to come into force in 120 days on January 22, 2025. Kim Xiang, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. We had a soft breeze to start the day, but the September heat wave continues in most parts this afternoon, with highs jumping to the upper 20s with on and off rain in the forecast. There was some morning rain in the capital area in Gangwon-do province, and there could be passing showers across the country with 5 to 20 millimeters in the forecast, along with thunderstorms. Now, afternoon temperatures could be 2 to 4 degrees higher than normal. Seoul gets up to 27 degrees, but southern provinces could be much warmer, with Daegu and Jeju topping out at 29 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Air quality will be good nationwide all day today. Sunny skies return just in time for the weekend, but the East Coast could see showers with easterly winds. Then we can finally put away those summer clothes this weekend, as the hotter days will slip away next week, with rain bringing cooler air to the country. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That ends our afternoon newscast for this Thursday. Coming up next is our daily panel session.